said earlier. My name is Tracy Ostrom, and I am a project coordinator with UC Berkeley's Graduate School of Education in doing academy support work, which is the organization I work with within the Graduate School of Education. It's called the College and Career Academy Support Network. And my colleague is also with me, Svetlana.
Yeah, I'm Svetlana Darsh. I'm a senior research associate at West Ed, and my area of expertise is high school reform and particularly work-based learning, which is how we started this project in 2011 as a form of work-based learning in green career staff, and now NASA. Yeah.
So I know Joanna and Amanda, could you guys just tell us your academy, who you are and your academy that you're representing?
I'm Amanda Driver. I'm at Menashe High School in Porterville, California, and I'm the lead for the Environmental Science Academy.
Okay, and we're Foothill High School, which is in Tustin down in Orange County. I'm the academic coordinator for an engineering and green power academy.
Awesome. And I'll just mention I started an academy up here in CPA Academy up here in Oakland. I taught 17 years and started a green energy academy up here as well. So I'm with you guys in the academy mode there. So we're going to talk about a few things today, but really this is basically a discussion we want to hear from you as we go through. Feel free to stop us, ask for clarification, or ask any kind of questions you guys have. We're going to talk a little bit about GLOBE Mission Earth and the program in itself. We're going to talk a little bit about what GLOBE is and NASA assets, and then certainly how this program can connect you and your students to STEM professionals and career readiness. And we'll start out by just talking about GLOBE Mission Earth, and Janet Struble is here. She's the project manager of our program. We're in year 3 of a 5-year grant funded by NASA to bring the GLOBE program to teachers and students throughout the nation. And Svetlana and I have a GLOBE partnership up here in Northern California. So we work with California schools and specifically career academies in bringing GLOBE to their classrooms. The program itself is a K through 12 program, actually K through 16, so it even taps pre-service teachers. Our partners are shown here, University of Toledo, that's where Janet is out of, but we also connect with Boston University, Tennessee State, and of course our partners in crime and all this is NASA and our different facilities within the United States, the NASA centers. Our real goal with the GLOBE Mission Earth program is, bottom line, expanding GLOBE to as many schools as we can, which has prompted us in our discussion with Jerry at the CDE in trying to get the word out to California Partnership Academies, or basically any California academies here on the opportunities that GLOBE might be able to bring to their academies. And so what we do here in Northern California through the GLOBE Mission Earth program is we really provide both teachers and students some exposure to GLOBE and NASA. We do lots of teacher PDs, trainings. We support them in their classroom by pushing in or do virtual support with our scientists. We meet our students out in the field doing outdoor science measurements. So we really try to provide a complete package as opposed to just handing it off to our teachers. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit today about, what our teachers and students are doing within GLOBE. And just to give you a little bit more idea, a better feel for GLOBE itself, I wanted to show you this little quick video here.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm on a conference call. Sorry.
Around the world through hands-on science research activities called protocols.
We're sampling vertebrates, and then we're looking at our key and deciding what they are, and then we're gonna put it on the.
So they're looking at data that students around the world have collected. seeing how their data is going into that same pool. So now they're part of this global group of students who are monitoring all parts of the ecosystem.
No matter where we live, our common bond is the Earth, and GLOBE allows all of us to discover and learn about the drink and the soil we use. GLOBE connects us to our planet and one another through interactive exploration.
I think it's like cool to see that everybody all around the world are doing this just to help Earth.
The GLOBE program encourages students to be curious about the things they see every day, like clouds, streams, and plants. Through the data students collect, GLOBE helps build a bridge between today's science research and the next generation of scientists, because professional scientists are able to access the data collected by students around the world. In turn, students become more engaged and involved with science.
To know that, you know, a NASA expert or a GLOBE expert is going to use that actual data, that's really exciting for the kids and us.
Take the first step to encourage your students to discover, explore, and investigate their world. Do GLOBE today. Don't just read about science, do science.
Another word of introduction and why you're even here and how Jerry reached you is, so GLOBE stands for Global Learning and Observations to Benefit the Environment. It was started over 20 years ago by Al Gore on Earth Day 1995, and there are about 125 countries involved. The idea is that students, so like the first citizen science program that really involves students, so there are thousands of students all over the world and teachers who are collecting data using the same protocols. Tracy's going to tell you about them. The beauty of it is that kids can then do projects with their program, with their data, but also connect with other students in other parts of the world. And she'll tell you more, but the connection to Jerry is that we've been partnering with the CDE for a long time. And we asked Jerry if in the desire to sort of expand, let more teachers know about this, you know, could he facilitate a connection? So that's where that connection comes from. And it's the whole idea is to introduce more hands-on learning into career academies. Okay.
Great. Yeah, so you might have noticed in the video, students collecting data from a variety of different mediums, and the GLOBE program covers everything from taking atmospheric measurements like air temperature, humidity, pressure, cloud coverage, types of clouds, to hydrosphere, water quality, transparency, salinity, etc. There's quite a few biosphere outdoor protocols, and protocols are basically a fancy word for procedures with GLOBE. They get land classification, biometry, bud burst, hummingbird migration, etc. And then certainly pedosphere is soil, and there's quite a few soil protocols, including soil fertility, density, moisture, characterization, classification, etc. And the Earth as a system area of study is just as it's described. It's basically putting it all together through their data collection and research. So depending on what your academy focus is, or depending on the area of study within the curriculum, there's different ways to tap into the GLOBE program and engage students in field science. So I want to talk a little bit, that's a little bit more about GLOBE, and as Svetlana said, there are tens of thousands of students worldwide collecting data and entering it into the GLOBE database, but a major supporter of the GLOBE program is NASA. So NASA has a lot of assets that they tie into the GLOBE program, and they certainly use the data from the data entry from students to further their research. So a couple of the NASA facilities that we work with here in California are not just the JPL lab in Southern California and NASA Ames here in Northern California, but the NASA Langley Research Center is a partner of the GLOBE Mission Earth program. And basically, NASA has a lot of subject matter experts, as you can imagine, that are very Earth-oriented or science experts that can beam into the classroom, virtually make presentations and talk with students. into the classroom. And there's also NASA folks at JPL that have scheduled site visits at schools. The My NASA Data website, I invite you to visit that, but not this week. In 2 weeks, they just are rebuilding that website, and it's supposed to go live on Thursday. So we're going to give it a couple more weeks, but they rebuilt this website, but it's basically a plethora of lessons and satellite images and data that's usable in the classroom to support content area. And then lastly, with NASA, they have, as you can imagine, several satellites. I want to say, I think 70 to 80% of all the NASA satellites actually point towards Earth. And that's in hopes of collecting more data about what's going on with Earth as a system. On the 15th of September, the latest NASA satellite will be launched out of Southern California, Vandenberg. And it's the ISAT-2 satellite, which will measure ground height of all objects on Earth, so that they can measure the growth, like tree growth, for example. And this is a campaign or a mission that students can get involved with, providing data right to NASA to validate their satellite. And NASA also has an air quality campaign that they do every year to measure air quality around the world. And again, all of the data that's entered by students for the air quality campaign goes right to NASA research efforts. So a little bit about the GLOBE website, and I'm not going to go to the GLOBE website and kind of go through it because it could take up a lot of time, but I wanted you to know that within the GLOBE website, under the teacher guide, you could find, under Do GLOBE, you can find a number of resources that may be applicable to your classroom or your curriculum. There is something called teaching boxes where they focus on different scientific phenomena, and they actually give you a step-by-step lessons with standards aligned to them that can be implemented, if not the Career Tech Ed classroom, then the corresponding science classroom. But really what this is about is to, give you guys some more real hands-on understanding of how this fits into Career Tech Ed. And as a Career Tech Ed teacher and Academy Director, this was really important for us to make sure that we were hitting common standards with all of the industry sectors, but specifically with we were in energy, environmental, and utilities industry sector. And so what I did is I just picked out some of the real key ones that I thought were very applicable to the GLOBE program. And you can take a look at them, but basically there's a lot of skills that are built in students implementing GLOBE in their classrooms. And these kinds of skills are product driven, where students conduct field research, prepare research posters, and I'll talk a little bit about some opportunities for them to present their research projects in a few slides here. But it's really fits in quite well with using technology, critical thinking, research strategies, understanding their environment, especially for the academies that you guys mentioned that you represent. It's truly a hand-in-glove kind, I feel, a hand-in-glove kind of program, especially coming from the classroom and now being able to work with teachers from other academies to implement this in their program. Joanne, you mentioned some engineering interests that you have with your academy, and I wanted to mention a couple of the opportunities to tie in some skills that are often associated with engineering practices. Students can be very basic when they build a clinometer and measure the height of objects, and this ties directly into that ISAT-2 satellite that will be launched in a few days now. But also it could be something more involved in building an autonomous weather station. We have a high school manual that students, teachers and students can use, so students can build their own weather station and install it at their schools. And this weather station will actually feed data directly into the GLOBE website. There's a little bit of coding involved. Most of the the weather station build out is soldering. But there's a lot of soldering involved. So these are just from very simple to maybe a little bit more complicated engineering practices that are available through the GLOBE program. Yeah, go ahead.
Wondering, since we're only scheduled till 4:15, do you
Yeah.
have a little bit more time, Joanne and Amanda? Or do you want us to just zoom through to the very end as quickly as possible? We just want to be respectful of your time.
I would prefer the fast forward version since we got such a late start. I really don't have that much more time.
Perfect. Svetlana, why don't you just talk about the STEM professional connection and then we'll wrap it up.
We'll go to the end and let you know how you can get involved. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I started this project as a form of work-based learning because that's the hard nut to crack in career academies, as you know. And we go everything, you've probably seen the work-based learning continuum. Can you go to the next slide, Tracy, where the continuum is? Did we skip over that? Here it is. You're probably familiar with this, right? So the idea is that through the program, we're really focusing on that learning through work piece. That's the, sorry, I'm reaching as if you can see me, that career preparation column, the learning through work. So the students are actually fully engaged. And we, our project, not GLOBE necessarily, but well, actually GLOBE as well, really strives to bring real scientists into classrooms and make those connections. So that actually starts to get at the real value, the real purpose of work-based learning. Even though they're not going into an internship per se, they're actually doing real work. They're inputting data into a real database. There's value outside of the classroom, and it therefore qualifies as a real form of work-based learning. They're learning both science and project skills, and they're learning a whole host of 21st century skills like collaboration and critical thinking. One of the things that we want to slightly touch on is that we have the GLOBE organization and us partnering with them host a research symposium every spring. So consistent with what academies are trying to do with regards to project-based learning and deep integrated projects, we have an opportunity for the students to actually present their projects. The last two years ago, we did it twice at JPL and then most recently at Ames Research Lab, and we're doing it at Chabot this coming year. So students, actually scientists from those labs actually get, the students get the opportunity to get feedback from the scientists. It's a terrifying experience for a few of them, but we've been interviewing them all. And it oftentimes turns them, because most of our students are students of color or those who have not had a whole lot of exposure to the sciences. They're underserved communities, and the connection with real scientists who are extremely respectful, who engage them in real questions like young colleagues, it's incredibly empowering for them. So there's both a physical research symposium, which will be next spring in April, and a virtual research symposium, which is hosted by the GLOBE organization. We'll give you these slides so you'll have all of the information plus all of our contact information. But that's where they get to upload their presentation and get feedback virtually from scientists. So here are some ways that you can get involved. Do you want to just go to that last slide, Tracy, or?
Sure. So you can actually join the GLOBE organization simply with an email address and a school identification. It's free. All the resources on GLOBE are free, including all of this protocol. You can get trained by looking to see if there's a workshop near your location, but there's also online e-training. So let's say if you want to do some atmosphere outdoor research with your kids, you can get trained so that you can enter that data onto the GLOBE website. So this is our final slide, and I'll leave it up to Svetlana to close it out.
Yeah, so I don't have to read all of this to you, but you have access for free, and with our support, to the extent that we can support you, you have access to all the GLOBE resources, access to NASA resources, including curriculum materials. There are partner organizations like ours all over the country. There's other GLOBE teachers all over the world. There's the research symposia, and there's funding for travel. So it'll be up in Northern California if your students want to, it could be a small team of students or a larger group, that there is opportunity to participate in the International Virtual Science Fair as well. There is a cadre of scientists from all over the world that you can search for. And one of the coolest things is that we actually have NASA scientists that are part of our Mission Earth team. People like Jessica Taylor, who's from Langley Research Center. She's the kind of person who could beam right into your classroom and support you in without having to go through me and Tracy. So we have, again, a small group of schools in Northern California that we're working with intensively, but we're looking to expand our reach and welcome other schools to connect with us, participate in trainings and so forth. There's no cost for any of that. We are not available to sort of fly and hang it out in your classroom as intensively as we would with other local schools, but we're more than welcome, happy to support you in any way that we can and connect you to resources and so forth. So we basically just wanted you to know about it. It's just an amazing program. We're happy to answer any questions, after today. And you can ask Jerry about our credentials. We've all been working in this area for a long, long time. And we welcome, also if you want to share this information with any of your colleagues, if you wanted to schedule a conference call with any of your other Academy colleagues, we're more than happy to do that and talk to a group of you. We promise the Zoom will work. And and we've also been at Educating for Careers and other conferences as well, so we can connect in lots of different ways. So just want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and putting up with, with the technology glitch. But, absolutely be in touch with us if you'd like to follow up in any way.
Okay.
Okay. If you have any questions, we're
do you have any? We're welcome. We're happy to stay on if you have any questions.
I think I'm going to sign off, but I'm going to spend some time looking around the website, and then if I have some questions after that, I assume you guys will be sending out contact information, or you're going to send out the slideshow.
I'll send out the slideshow, and you can always just email me to Joanne.
Okay.
Yep.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I had just a couple questions. Like when you said to build your own weather station, I'm kind of like a weather nerd, so I'm
nice. Boy, you fit right in. Nice.
I've been telling my husband for a decade that I want a weather station for Christmas.
Hey, there you go. You're all set. If you got a soldering iron and some solder, you're good to go.
Okay, so that's kind of my question. Yeah. Like what sort of costs for equipment and materials and stuff? What are we looking at ballpark here?
Yeah, so the weather station is really a how-to manual written for students, and we're certainly happy to get any feedback if you do end up pursuing this on how we could make it better. But it's about, I would say, maximum $450 worth of parts per group. So if you want to just do a side group of kids to engage it as a senior project or, an after-school program or whatever, that seems to fit in pretty well as opposed to having a whole class work on one weather station. It doesn't quite work out as well.
Okay.
But it's about that, and that's assuming you have just the basic equipment, like I said, soldering irons and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, any of those things, everything that I was seeing, the water sampling, the soil sampling, that kind of stuff, that's all stuff that I've done in my class, but I feel like I'm just kind of learning on the fly with the kids a lot of this stuff too. I don't have a ton of personal experience with it through my educational background. So these are things, that I would love to learn more about on how to do it to improve my my teaching ability to make this be more real science,
Right. More relevant. And Amanda, I was very similar to that when I had my background in environmental management before I became a teacher, but I was showing these kids how to do water quality and let's test the soil and yada, yada. And they went through the motions, but it became a lot more meaningful as a GLOBE teacher. And then knowing that they could contribute what they found in their little, you know, corner of the world to a global picture, boy, the interest changed dramatically.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, and it was very powerful, and I'm happy, you know, to help you facilitate that. I do know that I will be in the in your area in mid-November, actually.
Okay.
And we'll be doing a training for LA libraries. And so we're going to be doing like a 2-day training with quite a few librarians. They're instituting GLOBE at a library, right? Which is, you know, citizen science kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'll be down there for at least a couple days. So
I'm in like Central California. I'm not in Southern California. I'm like between Bakersfield and Fresno.
Yeah, that's between what and Fresno?
Like Bakersfield and Fresno.
Yeah, that would be still a little.
You know what? We should, Amanda. So one of the most fabulous GLOBE partners in our state is a woman named Peggy Folletta, who used to teach at Kingsburg High School.
Okay. Yeah, that's not too far from us.
I think, right? And her protege is now the director of the academy there.
Okay.
And we can absolutely put you in touch with her. She brought students to the science fair, the symposium, and she's dynamite. She's really caught fire, and she's, you know, she really learned from a master. And that Peggy Folletta is now, she's moved to Northern California now, but I suspect that she goes to Central California fairly frequently, actually, because I think she still has family there.
Okay.
But we can definitely, is her name?
Leanne Olson is the teacher at Kingsburg High School.
Yeah. Who
was a student of Peggy's, and now, like as Svetlana said, she's a teacher and doing GLOBE with her students.
Okay.
But I still want to keep the potential of, you know, if I'm going to be on the road, maybe even swinging by or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Do I have to like go through some sort of training to be like a certified GLOBE teacher type thing?
Right. Well, in order to enter data onto the GLOBE database, you need to be, and we'll put that in quotes, trained. And that's where that e-protocol training comes in handy. You can pick what you want to be trained in. Let's say I just want to do, you know, air temperature, clouds, and surface temperature as an example.
Okay.
With my students. You can go to that area and get trained virtually. Then not only do you know how to do it with your students, and those are those protocols kind of thing, but you can enter that data and then be part of like a much bigger picture. As a matter of fact, even just with air temperature, or excuse me, surface temperature and clouds, you can be a part of a campaign that GLOBE has called the Urban Heat Island campaign, which is starting, and that's getting kids from all over the world are participating, schools from all over the world are participating in the Urban Heat Island campaign. And that, you know, makes it more relevant for students who are, you know, doing that work, and it's super simple.
And so
protocols.
Like the sort of equipment that I need for that data collection, like can that all be found like on your website and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So what I mean, GLOBE has an equipment list, but I have kind of like my own Word document on the equipment list of where you can buy some stuff. And, you know, I would say to be well outfitted for doing GLOBE Atmosphere, it's less than $500.
Okay.
And that's like the cloud charts and all that you can just print out from the website. You know, and there's some pieces of equipment, you know, like thermometers and stuff like that are, you know, the idea is that you keep in line with the type of equipment that everybody around the world is using, as opposed to your own little special funky, you know, thermometer kind of stuff.
Okay.
And that's part of what makes it real science, because that way the kids can actually compare their data.
Okay.
With, so, and Porterville is one of the linked learning districts, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
If you, I mean, we know a lot of the leaders in Porterville, you know, Dr. Snavely and so forth. There are a lot of them are retired. Huh? He's your dad?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh my God.
Well, as a matter of fact.
Well, say hello to him. Right, say hello to him. I mean, I think he knows who I am, and probably Tracy also. But yeah, we've been involved with linked learning for a long time, and he's been obviously a leader in the state. The only reason I'm mentioning it is that we're always looking for opportunities to, make other people excited and to see if there's ways that you can work with your colleagues. Like, for example, when you do a project, there's so much writing, right? So it links like literacy with science, and there's so much that can be done that people who work in academies always get that. People who don't work in academies often don't get that. So, and given that you guys have been just at the forefront, Porterville has been a leader statewide. It's very exciting that that you could do this and potentially engage other teachers as well. I mean, we'd be more than happy to come down and talk with people, and it's part of the whole, right? It's part of the whole integrated project, certification process for GLOBE, for linked learning, all of that, right? It fits into all of that. So we've worked very closely with ConnectEd and so forth over the years. Yeah. So that's just something to sort of file away, and do say hi to your dad.
We will. We're having dinner tonight. Okay, so I'll look into like getting certified. Do you have to get certified in like a specific, like what I have to do, like atmosphere versus soil versus water, or do you have to kind of get a different certification for each part of it?
That is available. You can get certified in any area you want.
Okay.
When you set up your site, so you're going to set up, hey, we're going to take our measurements at this location. Maybe it's your softball field, maybe it's the rec area, whatever area it is. Maybe it's a park across the street. Once you set up your site, you will identify with that site what kind of measurements you're taking. Okay. So let's say I want to do air measurements and a water measurement and 2 soil, so you'll identify what you want to do at that site. For GLOBE's purpose, they would like to see you trained in those areas because they want you to collect the data correctly, right?
Yeah.
So that's the idea. Will you be able to upload the information without going through that certification for soil? You may have atmosphere and not the soil. You'll actually still can enter that data for soil, even though you haven't gone through those e-protocol trainings. But, and I'm certainly available to help, and to help facilitate anything or questions you may have in those areas.
And then I guess what kind of like, just for planning purposes, like what kind of time frame am I looking to do like that e-training?
You can get the e-training done you have an initial PowerPoint to go through. So it's all PowerPoint. You watch the PowerPoint, and then they have like these multiple choice questions at the end. And then you're allowed to miss so many. If you miss 3 and you're only supposed to miss 2, I mean, I think there's only like 6 questions or something like that. Then they'll go and they'll tell you which ones you missed, so you can correct your answer. And then, so there's multiple opportunities to, and then once you answer it correctly, they say, check, congratulations, you're, and it'll show up in your personal profile what you've been trained on. It'll also ask you, when you join as a teacher, it'll ask you what GLOBE partnership you want to be affiliated with. And you're welcome to choose the Berkeley West Ed partnership, which is our partnership. You're welcome to choose that, even though you might see something, a Central Valley partnership that may not be as active, but feel free to choose us. That's, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one other thing about weather stations is that we talked to you a little bit about the one that you could build from scratch, which is more of an engineering task, but you can also buy a weather station.
Yeah.
The fun thing about actually having the kids collect the real data, like precipitation and wind speed and all of that, is that they learn from the ground up kind of what those things mean.
Okay.
You can get a weather station. There's a little bit of a risk. Tracy had a weather station that was vandalized, unfortunately. So, so you have to take that into account. I mean, I'm really in favor of low tech, but you don't, in other words, you don't have to buy that engineering kit that we were talking about.
Right.
One option. If you want your students to actually be able to build it. But yeah, you don't actually need to have a full-on weather station to collect the, you know, to have all the pieces of what a weather station would include.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Tracy will send you the instrument list. The one thing about the instrument shelter is that, you know, there are some things about siting, but that's there's a whole protocol just for like where you put your instrument shelter for atmosphere.
Okay.
And it's a great learning experience in and of itself. I mean, I learned, you know, so right from the get-go, it's kind of, if you see all of the installation processes as part of like doing the work instead of like an annoyance, take the Zen approach to this. It's really rewarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And certainly, Amanda, as you know, if you dive into it and have questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. I mean, we're just here to spread the word and help out in any way we can.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. It's like we're kind of already doing it in class, so I do like the idea of you know, having it be more meaningful and have not really repercussions, but you know, go beyond our classroom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I very much appreciate you hanging in there with